Alright mates, how's it going? In today's video, chapter 27 of Illidan by William King. We're now one day before the fall, but there's still a few chapters left, so I guess this is quite an eventful day or something. So let's get... Although a few weeks had passed since Illidan's near-death experience at Arkandun, he was still feeling pretty weak. His power had not returned to anything like what it had been prior to using the Soul Siphon, and part of him even felt like dispatching an expedition to find those bloody necromancers and kill the twats. But he knew he couldn't waste resources on petty vendettas. His army was already shattered, his empire crumbling. The Alliance Horde and Burning Legion were all pretty much on their doorstep at this point, and he knew he only had himself to blame. He'd decided to only take a few Fell-Orc bodyguards to Arkandun rather than his demon hunters. They needed to reserve their power for the final confrontation, and Illidan hadn't thought the City of the Dead would be that dangerous anyway. But that overconfidence was going to cost him. His Blood Elf advisors then entered the chamber. Illidan tried to conceal the pain in his movements the best he could, but all eyes were on him, being all judgy and stuff. They were studying him as wolves might study the ailing leader of the pack. His empire was shrinking, but it was still an empire, and these ruthless, ambitious assholes would probably jump at the chance to rule it. The news from the Netherstorm is interesting. Tempest keeping our treacherous former prince have fallen. Not sure if that's good or bad for us though. Illidan simply waved his hand as if to dismiss Zerevor's words. Kel'Thas had sided with Kil'jaeden and deserved whatever evil fate had befallen him. Sod that prick. Melander, what news from the Blade's Edge Mountains? Grawl the Dragon Killer has been overthrown. I can find us other allies, I just need a little bit more time. With all respect, Lord Illidan, time is just one of the resources that we are running short of. We need to mount counterstrikes against the Alliance and the Horde. Teach them to fear us. Regain our lost territories. Or we could offer an alliance to one side or the other. Play them off against each other. Virus clearly thought that was what Illidan wanted to hear, but the rest of the Bloody Elves bloody hated it, and they all started arguing with each other. Meanwhile, Illidan had already completely zoned out and was thinking about his plans for the portal to Argus. He was going to need more true silver. The dampening spells would need reinforcing. They only had one chance to get this right, so everything had to be perfect. What do you think, Lord? What should we do? It was at that moment that Illidan realised he was sick and tired of this shit. Tired of listening to petty bickering over matters that weren't important. Tired of the feeling of weakness. Tired of this needless distraction. Get out! Sometime later, Illidan looked around the great chamber of transference at his handiwork. He had created the last and greatest portal spell he would ever weave. Runes inscribed in demon blood, skulls of demons and sorcerers each etched with their own miniature runes, warding symbols based on his tattoos, and at the centre, the seal of Argus, pulsing with power. But there was still something missing. Despite the intricate design of this great spell, it felt incomplete, and Illidan realised he was going to need to do another bloody vision quest. One that would take his spirit across the twisting nether all the way to Argus again. And in his weakened state, he wasn't exactly excited about that, but he went ahead and did it anyway. This time, he sought to establish a terminal point for his portal. So he approached the palace city where the demonic rulers of the Burning Legion dwelled, the very same one he'd visited last time he did a spirit walk here. And again, he was filled with the overwhelming sensation that he was being watched. And again, he waited for a bit to see if anything happened, but nothing did. Perhaps it was just some defensive spell designed to induce paranoia and doubt. Kil'jaeden was capable of such subtle nasty magic. Illidan then entered Kil'jaeden's palace, and pretty quickly found a decent spot. But as he started casting the necessary spell, the feeling of being watched returned. Something was looking upon his actions with immense curiosity. And wait, what's that? Illidan could sense a faint aura of shimmering light, but as he tried to focus on it, it vanished from his perception. So he just carried on. The first anchor for his portal was now in place, so it was time to find another spot, which he soon found. But even in his spirit form, with its reduced emotional state, he was still kinda angry. He didn't like being toyed with. He wanted whatever was watching him to stop playing silly buggers, but he forced himself to concentrate. The next two anchor points went down easily, and he only needed one more, so he moved cautiously closer to the Great Throne Room. He could sense Kil'jaeden and many of his generals were in there. All of them would be capable of detecting him if he made any kind of mistake, so things were pretty tense. He steeled himself and invoked the last anchor for his spell, and the connection between the great pattern back on Outland and the anchor points he'd planted here was established, which meant his portal could now be activated. But before he had a chance to feel smug about it, a wave of power swept over him, and the next thing he knew, everything was really bright and shiny. And before him glittered a being of light. Illidan braced himself to unleash the most destructive spell he could, but the creature did not attack.
You are a Naru.
I am an Elder Naru.
Possibly the eldest now remaining in these universes.
Why are you here? Do you serve Sargeras or kill Jaden?
I do not.
Then what are you doing here?
Waiting for you.
You knew I would come.
You, or someone like you. The universe throws up champions in the face of those that would destroy it.
Could perhaps have picked a better one.
I do not think so. You are what you are. All your days have forged you into that. A weapon aimed at the heart of a great demon.
I would like to think I am somewhat more sentient than my warclaves.
That is what makes you dangerous.
So the universe has anointed me to slay Kil'jaeden.
No, your enemy is far greater than Kil'jaeden. Greater even than Sargeras and his burning legion.
Wonderful. As if they were not strong enough.
The Void is a more potent foe by far than the burning legion. It is the ultimate opponent of the light. It will take all the peoples of Azeroth and Outland united to oppose it. You do not believe me? Then know this. Before Illidan could actually respond or say anything, a bolt of pure light blasted out from the Naru. Illidan braced himself for a blast of agony, but that didn't happen. Instead, he found himself experiencing a vision of a terrible battlefield. Amid mountains of corpses, a winged figure battled at the head of the Legions of Light. The soldiers surrounding him gazed up in awe and wonder at their leader, and it took Illidan a few seconds to realise who it was. Him, but transformed into an avatar of the light. There was a sense of rightness about this. For a moment, Illidan could even believe in it, but then his doubts rushed back. This wasn't true. This wasn't who he was. He was a fighter and a killer, as driven by darkness and his own desires as any urge to do right. You will defy death. I have seen this. Whatever you were, whatever you are, a champion of light is what you will be. Could it really be true? Was there a chance for redemption? You will be a hero, but there will be a price.
There always is.
The Naru then bid Illidan farewell, and then touched him on the forehead, and it burned, as if another tattoo had been added to his flesh. And the next thing he knew, he was back on Outland. But before he could process what just happened, his advisors appeared. Lord Illidan, you must come with us. The Black Temple is under attack. And we're leaving it there! Well, that's interesting. Adds a little bit more context to Illidan eye-beaming the shit out of Zero in Legion. In the next video, Akama's finally going to do something, instead of just talking about it. As usual, link in the description if you're interested in buying this book. Also, there's links to my Discord server and my Patreon page too. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, all of that bollocks. And all that's left to say is, thanks for watching, and see ya!